Welcome to Blonde Cards and Crafts. Let's make something together. Hello crafters, welcome to my channel. If you're new here, welcome back if you're a subscriber. Today I'm going to have a play with the Love from Lizi September 2023 card kit. It's called A Spot of Autumn and it's a beautiful kit. There's a link down below to my unboxing if you're interested in seeing what comes in the kit and maybe having a look at the subscription costs, etc. So my first card that I'm making with this kit is going to be an American A2 size card, and I have everything I'm going to need here. I figure what I would like to do is maybe make 5 of these cards, put them with their envelopes and add them into a box. Now I've had a couple of requests to show how I make my boxes. So we're going to make the card, hence the reason why I kind of went with an easy enough card. And then I'm going to show you how I make my boxes. So the first thing you'll need for the card is a piece of cardstock measuring 8.5 by 5.5, and then we'll score it at 4.25. That'll give us an American A2 size card, which is a lovely, neat little size of a card. Here in Ireland, the UK and Europe, we tend to make more of the 5x7 cards, 6x6, 7x7 and 8x8 cards. I don't generally show the 7x7 or 8x8 cards on my channel, but again, I've been asked if I'll make some, so I'm going to do that in the future too. The next thing I have here is a piece of white cardstock, and this piece measures 4 by 5.25. I've taken an embossing folder from a previous kit. This is it here. It's a beautiful embossing folder, and I've used that to emboss this panel as well as this panel here, but we'll get to that one in a minute. So this panel has been embossed, and then I've taken the peel-offs that came in the kit. You can see them here, these beautiful orange pinstripe peel-offs with gold edging on them. I've used them around the outside to frame this panel. And we'll have a nice border then going the whole way around. Next, I have 3 pieces of pattern paper. One of these pieces measures 1 3/4 by 4 3/4, and I'm going to pop that on there so it'll fit nicely, and I'll keep the border at the bottom, side and top more or less the same. I've also got this piece which measures 1 1/4 by 4 3/4, and again I'm going to do the same with that. I'll keep the nice tight little border of the white there, and I know we're covering up a lot of our embossed panel, but nevertheless I did like the idea of doing that. This piece of pattern paper measures 4 by 1 1/4, and you can see I've put some of the peel-offs on this as well. I used one to cover across the whole way, and then the leftover pieces I cut down so they'd fit like so. And I like to wrap my peel-offs around the back of my pattern paper. I just feel that if the sticky isn't quite strong enough, having them wrapped around the bottom will keep them in place. This piece is going to sit astride our white panel like so. And then I have these 2 pieces. My orange piece is 2.5 by 3.5, and my white piece is 2 1/4 by 3 1/4. You can again see I've embossed this piece. I've used some of the peel-offs on that, and that is going to go in the middle here like so. I've used one of the stickers from the sticker sheets, and I'll bring that out here. This was a large sticker sheet that we got, and it's folded in half. This is how it comes. You can see there is lots of stickers on this. I think it measures something like 11.5 by 12 inches. So it's a rather large sticker sheet that we got in the kit. I've used one of the stickers, the lovely Wellington boots with Hello Friend and the little flowers on the top. So I'm going to make another 4 cards very similar to this. I'll just use a different sentiment in each panel. That way then it can go as a gift to a friend. They'll have a little box with lots of little notelets in them. So that's our pieces that we'll need for this card. The only other thing we'll need, if you like, you can add a white panel, again 4 by 5 1/4 inside, and that'll allow you to have somewhere to stamp a sentiment. Leave it blank if you want, but write a message. But I think you could write on this orange cardstock. It's not too dark, so you could write on it, but it's up to yourself as to whether you want to put a panel inside or not. So I'm going to go ahead now and I'm going to speed everything up and assemble my card using my liquid adhesive. So there we go. There is our lovely little card, our hello friend card, and I think this is a lovely, fun, cheery card. I have put a panel inside. You can see here I've put another piece of 4 by 5 1/4. I've added a little piece of our pattern paper strip. This piece is 4 by 3/4 inch, and I've embellished it again using the lovely peel-offs that came in the kit. So that's our card done. Let's look at making a box for it now. So here I am now, and I have 2 boxes. One is for just our card and the other is for 4 cards and 4 envelopes. So I have used the kit, the pattern papers, etc. in the kit, but what I want to show you is how I make my boxes. And I have been asked by a couple of people to share how I make them. So if I was giving a handmade card and I wanted to put it in a pretty box and then put that with the gift that I'm giving to someone, this is what I would do. I generally make my box, I would add some tissue paper into it, and that way then it kind of pretties up the card that I'm giving. For this box, for just my card, I've done 1 inch deep for the base. And I've done 3/4 inch for the top. I've also used a little 3/4 inch punch on either side so I can pop my fingers on either side, and it just makes it easier. You can see there by doing a 3/4 inch compared to the inch base with the little finger pulls, it makes it easier to pull off the lid. So I'm going to show you how I get the measurements for my box and my lid, and then I'm going to show you how I get the measurements for this box. Now this one is a bigger box because we've got our little cards, our A2 cards, and our envelopes in here. Our envelopes are bigger than our card. They're just shy of 4 3/4 by 6 inches, so we need to make a bigger box. So I'm going to give you the measurements for this box, for the base and for the top, and show you how I make them. And this is what I usually do. I love doing this, making up cards. This card here has inspired my little cards for inside. I did everything the same except adding the peel-offs to my cards, and I did 2 of them in green and then 2 of them in red. And I added stickers, and I used the pattern papers then that came in the kit. So there's my 4 cards and my 4 envelopes. I like to embellish the back of the card with my stamp, and I have a stamp in my stash that says, I just wanted to send you a beautiful card, and I like to add that sometimes to my card base as well as to my envelope. So that's what's on those there. So now let's go ahead and I'll give you the measurements to make our box for just our card and our box for our envelopes and cards for an A2 card. This tutorial part, I'm going to time stamp each of the boxes. So if you're coming back and you just want to make this box or you just want to make this box, have a look in the description. The time you need to jump to is down there. So let's go ahead now and I'll show you how I come up with the measurements for my box. Okay, so when I'm making a box and it's for, we'll say, an A2 card, whatever your card size is, you need to decide what size the base is going to be. So this is the base, and then the sides, these are the sides. So if my card measures 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, I want the base to be a little bit bigger, so it needs to have some wiggle room. So my piece of cardstock that I need to make my box, I'm going to draw in the base. So my base, if my card is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, sometimes I'll add 1/4 of an inch to each of those measurements, or I'll add a half an inch. With this box, I'm going to add 1/4 of an inch. With the envelopes and cards box, I'll add a half an inch. So for my card measuring 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, I need to add my little bit of wiggle room. So I will make it 4 1/2 by 5 3/4. So I'm adding 1/4 of an inch on here, and I'm adding 1/4 of an inch on here. So that gives me my base size. Next, I need to look at my height of my walls of my box. So for the base, I'm going to add an inch here and here. So that's 2 inches in all. So an inch and an inch is 2 inches. So I'm adding 2 inches on here, and then I need to add an inch and an inch. That gives me 2 inches here. So the overall size that I need for my base of my box is 6 1/2 by 7 3/4. This is the size that I need to cut for my box base. Now for my box top, it's not as deep as my box base. It's only 3/4 of an inch. So it's the same measurement as this. It's 4 1/2 by 5 3/4. But instead of adding the inch on each side, I'm only going to add 3/4 of an inch here and 3/4 of an inch here. So that is in total 1 1/2 inches. So we're adding 1 1/2 inches to this measurement and 1 1/2 inches to this measurement. And that'll give us our size that we need for our cardstock to cut out. So 4 1/2 and 1 1/2 is 6, and then 5 3/4 and 1 1/2 is 7 1/4. Right, so that'll give us our lid for the box. So we need 2 pieces of cardstock. Our base needs to be 6 1/2 by 7 3/4, and our lid needs to be 6 by 7 1/4. Now, I don't cut anything off my base size. A lot of people do. It makes it easier for the lid to sit on over the base. But what I do is I wrap it around, and I'll show you how I do that in my tutorial. But it just means when your box lid is going on, it sits on perfectly when you do that. So if you want to cut a bit off, you'll need to cut 1/8 of an inch, a sliver of this side of your cardstock and this side of your cardstock. Or you can do it the way I'm going to show you. So that's the size we need for just our card. Now, if we want to make a box that is big enough for our envelopes and our card, then we need a bigger box. So for the box for our envelope and cards, we need to look at our envelope size. Now, our envelope size for an A2 envelope using the We Are Memory Keepers punch board is 4 3/4 by 6. I'm going to add 1/2 inch to each of these measurements. We added 1/4 of an inch here on each of these, and I'm going to add 1/2 inch. It just gives us more room because we'll have more bulk going into this box. So our 1/2 inch plus 4 3/4 gives us 5 1/4, and our 1/2 inch plus 6 gives us 6 1/2. So that's the size our base of our box is going to be. So now we need to add our inch and our inch, our inch and our inch. So 1 and 1 is 2. So we're adding 2 inches here and 2 inches here. So that'll give us a total size that our cardstock needs to be for the base of this box, our larger box. It needs to be 7 1/4 by 8 1/2, and that'll be our box base. For the lid of this box, we're going to again go with a 3/4 inch deep lid. So we're taking this measurement, 5 1/4 by 6 1/2, and we're going to add 3/4 of an inch here, 3/4 of an inch here, 3/4 of an inch here, and 3/4 of an inch here. So instead of it being 2, it's going to be 1 1/2, because 3/4 of an inch and 3/4 of an inch gives us 1 1/2. So we'll add 1 1/2 here and 1 1/2 here. That means the size of our piece of cardstock that we need for the lid of our box needs to be 6 3/4 by 8 inches, and that is for our box lid. And that is the one that has our cards and envelopes. And again, with this measurement, you can take a sliver off the top and the side, and that way your lid will fit on easier, or you can do the method that I'm going to do, which is just wrapping the lid around. So this is the size cardstock you need to cut for our larger box, and these are the sizes that you need to cut for the smaller box. So I'm going to go ahead now, bring in my scoreboard. We're going to start with making this box, so I'll have my 2 pieces of cardstock measuring here. So let's go ahead and do that now next. I'm going to bring in my scoreboard. So I have my base piece here. I wrote base. And my 1 inch, so I know now that I'm going scoring at 1 inch wide. So like I said with this, with the base, this piece measures 6 1/2 by 7 3/4. So what we need to do now is start scoring our inch. So I'm putting my cardstock up into my scoring board, and I'm scoring at 1 inch the whole way down. Then I'm going to rotate it around and score again at 1 inch. Now you're probably saying, Simone, why don't you just come over and score 1 inch? Because I find when you rotate it, your measurement here will always be 1 inch. But if you score over here and your paper is any bit out, it could be less than 1 inch. So this way you're guaranteed of having 1 inch the whole way around your box. This is what I do. This is what I feel works best for me, but you can do it whatever way you like. So that's our base. Next, I have my top piece. And my top piece measures 6 by 7 1/4, and I'm going to score this at 3/4 of an inch the whole way around. So again, I'm moving it, I'm rotating. Oh, I've jumped track. I'm rotating it each time and scoring at 3/4 of an inch. The cardstock I'm using is 300 GSM cardstock, which is similar to £120 if you're in America. Now, I did a score line there. It jumped the track. If you want to rub out the score line just very lightly, go over the score line with your scoring tool. And what it does is it pushes the cardstock back out. So although you can faintly see it, you don't have a deep score line there. So I'm just gonna go over that. Now, sometimes when I do that, what I'll actually do is go around and add the score line in. So it actually gives a decorative edge around your lid. So you can do that too. So there is our top and there is our bottom. Now we need to do some cutting. So I'm going to move my scoring board out of the way. I'm going to take a nice little scissors, and this is my Fiskars soft grip scissors. I'm going to work first on our base. So this is the one that measures 1 inch wide. And what I like to do is you can start it anywhere you want. I'm just starting on the shorter side. So we want to cut up our score line here, like so. We have this little tab. I'm going to take a little wedge off that on both sides. And this will just help us, it'll help it sit nicely behind this part. So I'm going to do that again on the other side. I'm cutting up the score line. I'm going to take a little wedge off and then take a little wedge off the other side. So we have 2 tabs done. I'm going to rotate it around now so that my tabs are at the top. And I'm going to cut up the score line, cut a little wedge, and cut a little wedge from the other side. And we'll do that with our final corner. Cut up the score line, cut off a little wedge, and again cut off a little wedge. Now what we need to do is burnish these score lines. In other words, we need to fold them over. It just makes everything easier when we're assembling the base of our box. So I've done my sides. Now I'm going to fold in my little tabs. Now what we need to do is glue these together. So I'm going to glue these using my quick grab glue this time. And that'll give us our little box like so. And our card will sit in there perfectly. And you could use any colour cardstock for this. I just happen to have used the white. I thought it would be easier. So I'm going to add glue to 2 of my tabs. And like I said, you can use adhesive tape. So I'm going to do this one first. Now I want to ensure that this side here lines up with this side here. So bring around your tab and then join this corner up so that it looks nice and neat and even there. Take your time, you're in no hurry, because at the end of the day, if you're putting on things and they're looking wonky, okay, it's a handmade card, you've got to allow for it. I kind of feel in my card making, I don't need to achieve perfection. It's overrated, guys. That's what I think anyway. But I'm going to do the best I can. I mean, I'm not going to be sloppy at it either. So again, I'm adding some of my liquid glue to this little tab and I'm bringing it over. I'm focusing again on my corner. I want to make sure they're nicely lined up, and then I'm adding pressure to this tab. So now we have one end done. I'm going to rotate it around and we're going to do the exact same thing again. We're going to add glue to our tabs and we're going to line them up. So I'll add glue here. And I'm going to again focus on that corner, getting it nicely situated so it's nice and flush, pinching the card together so that my glue kind of fixes. And then I'm going to do this last little tab. I'll add some liquid glue to that and we'll take our time. The great thing about this glue is if any of it oozes over, I can just wipe it off. There's no residue. And again, I'm focusing on a nice, even corner. And you can see there, because we have cut a wedge off our tabs, we don't have anything excess over the top. I used to find that awful. I'd be making a box and some of them, you know, the tab would be peeking over the top because it wouldn't be exact. So when you cut off your little wedge, you shouldn't have that problem. So there we go now. There is our base for our card, and our card will fit in lovely. And there's plenty of room there. Even though I put some foam tabs on this, there's plenty of room there. So next I'm going to go ahead now and I'm going to assemble the top for my box. So this is the one that has the 3/4 inches on the width. So I'll just add my little glue pin to my glue. And we're going to do the exact same thing we did with the base. We're going to cut up our score line, which will give us our little tab. And then we're going to cut a little wedge out of each one. I'm going to do that again for this one, and then I'll speed through the other two. So now, again, we want to fold our sides. And then we're going to add glue. And I'm going to again use my quick grab glue. We're going to add glue to 2 tabs. And you can do these one at a time like I did with the base. But I'm prepping the second one. Again, I'm making sure my corners are nice and even. Give that a little pinch, and then I can do the second one. Perfect. And you can pop it down on the desk and give it a little press like that. Now the next thing you want to do is make sure this is going to fit over your base. So what I like to do is I like to put my lid on. I like to wrap my tabs around and then add glue to those. So that's what I'm going to do next. So I find just wrapping these around and bringing the cardstock over. So I'm going to press that down, bring this one around and wrap that around there, and add a little pressure to those and give those a minute. Once they're on, I can then open this up, and then I can use my scoring tool to burnish those. So I'll press those down. And give those a minute. So my corners aren't perfect doing it this way, but it means my box lid will sit on over my base, and that's what you want. And you want a snug fit so that the, you know, when the lid is on, it's on, like it's not going to fall off, you know. That's what you want. You want your sharp corners. You want a snug fit, but you want it to be, you know, easy enough that you can pull it off. Now, I like to put my little finger pulls. I use a little punch, if I can get it out of the drawer. So what you can do is you can measure the length along here. Take your little punch and then punch out a little space, and this is just a 5/8 punch, and then we want to do the same on the other side. So put it up, I just bend it a little bit, and there we go. And that way then you can add this onto your base, and you've got your little finger pulls there, so it just makes it easier to pull your box apart, and that fits in there nice and snug. So that's how I've made my box for my card. Let's move on now and make the larger size box for our cards and envelopes. So I have my 2 pieces here, my base, which measures 7 1/4 by 8 1/2, and my top, which measures 6 3/4 by 8. I'm going to work on the base first. So our base is going to be 1 inch deep, and what we're going to do is we're going to score at 1 inch all the way round. And that'll give us our base. We're going to do our top then. We're going to score this time at 3/4 of an inch. Now we need to do some cutting on this. So I'm going to move the scoreboard out of the way and we'll do our cutting. So with our cardstock, we have 4 corners, and what we want to do is make those corners into tabs. So we're going to cut up on the score line, and we're going to take a wedge out. We're going to do that as well on the other side. And then once we have those 2 tabs cut down, we're going to rotate it around and do the same thing again. So now I want to fold my score lines, and you can burnish those with a scoring tool, and I want to fold my tabs as well. And next we want to glue them. So now I'm going to start with the big one. I'm going to take my quick grab glue, and I'm going to add some liquid glue to my tab. And I'm going to do this to all 4 of my tabs. I'm going to bring in my cardstock so that my corner lines up here really, really nicely. So now I want to go ahead and do that to this box, but I'm only going to glue these 2 sides first. So now we have these 2. So what I tend to do is I'll put my lid on. I'm going to take the envelope out just for ease of demonstration. I put my base on over my box, and you can see here that my edges, they won't meet up as perfectly as the other ones do, because they're allowing for some room for the lid to sit on snugly. But that's how I make my boxes. That's what works for me. This is what I do. So now I'm going to add some liquid adhesive to my little tabs. And then I'm going to give those a minute to adhere. I'll add a little bit of pressure to them. So I'm pressing them in. My base is in nice and firmly in my box. I'm pressing them in and down. And then I'm just wrapping those around the edge of the box. And I'll add a little bit of pressure. Then I can pop the lid off. And then I can use my scoring tool to add a little bit of pressure. And because we took the wedge off our little tab there, it makes it wrap around. So it doesn't sit perfectly. You can see there my corners on these 2 sides aren't as perfect as these 2 sides, but it just means that our lid will sit better onto our base, just like that. And it's snug, and I want it to be that way. You know, you have to kind of, you can feel the air out when you put the lid on. And for me, that just makes it, you know, I don't want a lid that when I lift the lid up, it just falls off the base. I want a little bit of snugness there. So that's how I make my boxes. And I know it's not perfect, but it's what works for me. And we have the different size from the top to the base. Now the only extra thing I will do is I'll take a little punch. This is a 1-inch punch. You can use a 3/4 inch punch. Find the middle of the box, which is roughly about here. I'll take my punch and I'll kind of wrap it around a little and just pop out a piece like that. And I'll do the same on this side. Doesn't have to be perfect, but it just means when we pop our lid on and sit it over, we have little finger pulls either side, so you can pop your fingers either side like that, and then you can pull off your lid. So there we are. There are our 2 finished boxes. We have the card that we made at the beginning of this tutorial, which I love, and we used the Spot of Autumn Love from Lizi September 2023 kit, and this was the inspiration for my gift box of cards. I just love it. It's a simple card, but I needed to keep it fairly simple for the video because this is a long one. So we have our lovely card. I have some tissue paper in there, and we have our lid, and I love the size of our box, how our lid is a staggered size compared to the base. And again, I used pattern paper from this kit. I used ribbons from a previous kit and tags from a previous kit as well. We have our bigger box then here. I've used a piece of an offcut of some of the pattern paper for that. I put some tissue paper again from my stash in here, and then we have our 4 cards that I made using the Love from Lizi kit. You can see here I've done one in red. I've added my little stamp to the back, and I have a stamp in my stash. It says, "I just wanted to send you a beautiful card." I love adding that onto my cards, and when I make envelopes I add it to the inside of the envelope as well. So my 4 cards are these, and again I've used stickers and pattern papers from the kit to make these. I love some of these stickers have foiling on them and they're just beautiful. And then I have my matching envelopes in there as well. So I think this is a lovely gift to give to someone. A lot of my friends and family, they do enjoy getting cards from me, and these are a lovely little gift that I like to give to some of my family and friends, you know, for birthdays, etc. And that way then they have some of my little cards as well. So there we go. I'm going to leave it there, folks. If you have enjoyed my tutorial, please do give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're not a subscriber. It helps my channel to grow, and ding the notification bell so you'll be notified the next time I post a new video. You can share your makes on my Facebook group called Your Cards and Crafts, and Lizi has a Facebook group as well, so don't forget to share your crafts, your crafty makes with us there. I leave links in the description below to the subscription and to Lizi's website, where you can get lots of crafty products. I'll have links as well to the other design team members and their makes using this kit. And not only that, I will have measurements to this card and these 2 boxes. There'll be time stamps as well, so if you just want to watch the card, you can jump to that. If you want to watch how I made this box, you can jump to that, or to this box, you can jump to that. So it just helps you trying to navigate through this video because it's a long one. So have a look in the description for everything you'll need and more. I'm going to leave it there, folks, with some images of the card, the notelets and the boxes. And until next time, take care, stay safe, bye for now, bye bye.